Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. What is an unbeaten up-and-comer in the women's light flyweight division, an amateur standout that hails from Canada that goes by the name Sarah Bailey.
Been keeping an eye on this one. She won a WBA regular title in her last fight after just 4 professional bouts, 4 professional fights, and she's set to be taking on former champion Inoue Ortiz of Mexico in what is just her 5th professional bout, 30 years old.
To Inoue Ortiz, who is 38, both boxers are orthodox boxers. Sarah Bailey stands in at approximately 5 foot 4 inches to Inoue, who stands in at an even 5 feet tall. Sarah debuted as a professional in late 2022, fought 2 times last year, and she's set to fight 2 times this one. If it seems like she's moving really fast, if it seems like since joining the paid ranks, she's hit the ground running, it's likely because of her age, that she's 30 years old. Not necessarily the oldest fighter, but not the youngest. Not for a 4-0 fighter.
And to be taking on somebody as experienced as Inoue Ortiz, who sports a professional record of 34 wins with 6 losses, no draws, 4 knockouts, having been knocked out once in 40 professional bouts.
Last in action earlier this year in August against Montserrat Alarcón, who she beat by way of a unanimous decision. This will also be Inoue's 2nd fight of this year. Why is someone like Sarah taking on someone as experienced as Inoue in what is just Sarah's 5th professional bout? Like I said, it's her age.
If she were a bit younger, she'd have a bit more time for those bring-along fights and those developmental fights. But at 30 years old, she doesn't have all the time in the world for that.
The silver lining is her amateur background. It's my understanding that Sarah has approximately 150 amateur bouts. So while she doesn't have time for the bring-along fights, she doesn't really need them either.
Not as much as somebody else.
She was already fighting in 8-rounders in what was her professional debut. She's fought for 8 rounds. She's fought for 10 rounds. Most other fighters that are starting out in the paid ranks, they don't start off in 8-rounders. They don't start off in 10-rounders. They have to be built up.
Not Sarah.
And that is a part of what caught my attention about this fighter and about this fight, that at only 4-0, she's taken on somebody as experienced as Inoue. So Sarah is best described as a mid-range to inside boxer puncher. Very fluid, moves her head, moves her torso, beats those feet, lets go of combinations.
Counters in between.
She's very good mid-range to inside, and at only 4-0, you can see she knows what she's doing, she knows her way around the ring, and that amateur pedigree is shining through. Though even with that, you wonder if she's ready for someone as experienced as Inoue Ortiz, who has 40 professional bouts. This contest is taking place in the light flyweight division.
There are 2 champions at light flyweight, just 2, both of them unified. There's Mexico's own Jessica Neri Plata, who holds the WBA and WBC titles, and there is Evelyn Bermudez of Argentina, who holds the IBF and WBO titles.
As talented as Sarah is, I don't think she's ready for fights with either of those fighters, no. And it just so happens that she holds a lesser title, the secondary title to Jessica Neri's full title, her full WBA title. But being honest, even with a win over Inoue Ortiz, I'm not sure Sarah's ready for that fight. That fight with Jessica.
Jessica's already upset the apple cart for one unbeaten up-and-comer, one unbeaten champion in Canada's own Kim Clavel. Sarah Bailey would be another, and Sarah is less experienced now than Kim Clavel was when she fought Jessica. So if I'm Sarah's team, I'd steer her away from that fight, at least momentarily.
Hell, I might try to move her down. Move her down to minimum weight.
Why?
Sinicia Estrada recently announced her retirement from professional boxing, and all of her titles went vacant. Yokasta Valle was quick to pick up the WBC title. She's got that one now. Very soon, Sarah Borman will be fighting for the WBO, leaving the WBA and IBF titles up for grabs.
So I figure that if Sarah Bailey can actually get down to minimum weight, she should, and fight for one of those titles first, while she amasses more experience. Because even if she doesn't need as much bring-along as somebody else,
she's still got to make her bones. I think she still needs more experience before she can challenge somebody like Jessica Niri Plata or Evelyn Bermudez at light flyweight. See if you can get down to minimum weight. Fight for one of those vacant titles down there. The WBA title is vacant.
Petition the WBA for a shot at that belt.
Sarah and her team are ambitious. You can see that by how they're matching her. And if they make it through this Annabelle Ortiz fight, I think that's what they should look to do. Move down in weight, at least momentarily. Pick up a full title down there and amass experience while you do it. You know, she might actually be a more authoritative puncher at a lower weight. For now, the focus is former champion Annabelle Ortiz in the light flyweight division, and we have to see if Sarah can make it through that fight. At this early stage, it's too soon to tell. Sarah is not yet a bankable fighter.
Now, if she can beat somebody like Annabelle Ortiz, that will lend itself to how bankable she is.
But we just don't know. I figure if she makes it through that fight and she can get down in weight a little, then she should amass experience at minimum weight and then move back up when you're ready for a Jessica Niri Plata or an Evelyn Bermudez.
For now, look for the ring return of Sarah Bailey next week on the 12th, and we'll see how she makes out, because this is risky.
Hey, listen, Inoue said there's nothing that you can give him any problems with. All you have is power. What's your thoughts on that? That's what Inoue said. Inoue said there's nothing that you have that can give him real problems. All you have is power. He said that? Inoue said that.
I'm not 100% sure.
Right. I don't know.
I think it was misquoted.
Yeah.
He didn't say that? He said it.
I think there's a lot of compilations. They combine things. I think I've seen it, but I don't know if it.
If he actually said
I think
it.
if I watched it, I think I would have been tricked too. But I think it was.
It was edited.
Someone edited.
Someone edited it. It was edited.
I think it was a good edit.
Okay, well, let me.
Because there's no way he said that.
Okay,
For
listen.
him to be a boxer like that, there's no way he can say that.
Naoya Inoue himself has since responded to that reporter's claim that he in any way talked down Gervonta Davis, saying he has nothing to worry about except for Gervonta's power. Inoue, in his own words, said, "I never said anything like that."
And thus, Gervonta Davis himself was right to exercise some discretion for what is a manufactured quote
by those who would manufacture controversy, back and forth in Discord in an effort to manufacture news to thereby make videos about it. That's how these people are.
That's how they were raised.
The reporter in question, if you even want to call him a reporter, is a guy who goes by the name Skip from the YouTube channel Dante's Boxing Nation. Why am I not surprised?
So I remember circa 2020, Dante's Boxing Nation, one of the bigger channels in the YTBC and one of the older channels in the YTBC. He was also one of the ones talking up that Glovegate conspiracy, that baseless accusation levied against Tyson Fury.
A lot of content creators got to make a lot of money talking up that conspiracy theory, making videos about it, even though it never had any basis in reality.
That didn't stop them from talking it up, though, and that didn't stop people from watching videos about it.
Making it that much more easy to believe when so many different channels, so many different content creators are all saying the same thing in uniform, even though what they're saying has no basis in reality. Now, this brand of content creator, this brand of quote-unquote reporting,
It's a grift.
it's a scam. And what these guys really are scam artists, moving from one scam to the next with no compunction.
They literally manufacture their own news, their own headlines.
Thus are able to consistently bring in very good metrics for their channels, for their videos, with these sensationalized headlines based on news they make up themselves. Case in point, look at Fanon.
Just about a month ago, He claimed to have broke a story that Gervonta was offered $500 million deal by Amazon, and Al Heyman was offered $5 billion to sell his PBC.
No credible news outlet has corroborated the story that Fanon claims to have broke.
Because it isn't real.
35,000 people watched that video. You understand that? 35,000. He's able to funnel that many people to his channel for what are brazen lies because he sensationalizes the headlines and makes things up as he goes along.
So by the time you watch the video and you realize it's all bullshit, he will have made his money already.
Later on in the month, he claimed that Errol Spence Jr. was sabotaged in the Terrence Crawford fight, an odd illness. Sabotaged by who?
What odd illness? Are you still making excuses for this guy getting his ass kicked?
He's one of the ones that backed him, one of the bigger and older channels in the YTBC that talked up all things PBC, all things Al Heyman. 13,000 people watched that video because when you're manufacturing your own news, you can put whatever you want as the headline. You can sensationalize it as much as you like to the point where people watch the video looking to see if what you're saying is true. And by the time they realize it isn't, you made your money.
You made your AdSense money.
There was never any basis in reality for either of those stories that Fanon claims to have broke, just like there was never any basis in reality for that guy from Dante's Boxing Nation to say Inoue was trashing Gervonta Davis. No, Inoue has spoken highly of Gervonta Davis whenever the subject was broached, and it was the same in reverse. Gervonta speaks highly of him.
They have a mutual respect for each other that's played out more than once on camera.
So why would a reporter take it upon himself to manufacture quotes from Inoue to create chaos, to create discord, so that he can then make videos about it and profiteer from that manufactured controversy? These people have no shame, and that has been proven time and time again. These are not journalists.
So forget about journalistic integrity and trying to get to the truth. They're just trying to make a quick buck.
In recent years, we've seen a move away from conventional punditry, and what we're seeing is fan-driven coverage. The sport is being covered by the fans that consume it more than the actual journos.
A gift and a curse for the boxing fan, because it does create a more interactive experience, but there are that many more ulterior motives, agendas, dubious practices within the sport and how it's covered as a result.
Any one of these content creators gets access to a fighter on a regular enough basis, and suddenly they're a member of the street team. They're just another arm of promotion, them and their channels. And what you get from them is not impartial, is not unbiased. But if you're assuming the role that a journalist would occupy, you're expected to be the way you cover the sport.
It's not about what's true anymore, and it's not about news anymore. It's about metrics.
Not in pursuit of the truth. They're in pursuit of the metrics and the advertising revenue it brings them.
This really isn't a change for the better when you think about it in that context.
You're gonna try to create a rift between two boxers based on quotes that you made up yourself.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. And very few conversations in the American boxing scene, emphasis on the American one, as that's where most of these shenanigans take place, are had in good faith.
The discussions, the debates, it's always because somebody's got an agenda. Somebody's got an ulterior motive.
What's this, guys? He wants to create a beef between a super bantamweight and a lightweight. He wants to keep that conversation alive because it's been dead for months.
Nobody's expecting Inoue to jump up from 122 all the way up to 135.
These would-be reporters don't actually know enough about boxing to just make content about boxing.
It's not sensational enough for them. Reality is often more mundane.
But that is hardly the green light for you to go making up quotes and manufacturing stories.
No shame.
They're very low-quality people. There's no other way to put it. And there is nothing to be gained from watching them.
Unless you want to be lied to.
And just in keeping with the theme of baseless statements, Gervonta seems to have made one of his own. In his own words, he said, "I'm at the point where I've surpassed him," talking about his former mentor, Floyd Mayweather. And I don't know in what field, in what scope, in what arena he would have surpassed Floyd Mayweather. I mean, it's certainly not in terms of pay-per-views sold. Gervonta Davis isn't even a blip on the radar compared to Floyd Mayweather.
Most fighters aren't.
But they're not the ones who claim to have surpassed him. No, the top-selling, the top-grossing, the top-earning pay-per-views, box office fights in the history of boxing are all Floyd's. Whether it's the Pacquiao fight, the McGregor crossover fight, or the Canelo fight, the De La Hoya fight.
You did not surpass him there.
You didn't surpass him in terms of professional accolades either. No, Floyd Mayweather retired from the sport of boxing at 38 years old as a 5-division champion. And he unified titles, unlike Gervonta.
He was a champion at 5 weights, whereas Gervonta has been a champion in 2. 2, just barely.
Because that baby belt at 140 pounds doesn't count. At the time that he fought Mario Barrios for a WBA regular title, the undisputed champion at the time was Josh Taylor. Gervonta didn't fight him. But even if I operated like one of these sycophantic members of the media and actually qualified Gervonta Davis as a bona fide 3-division champion, he still wouldn't have surpassed Floyd Mayweather because Floyd was a bona fide champion at 5 weights.
He unified. In case you forgot, that fight with Manny Pacquiao was a 3-belt unification match for not just 3 alphabet titles, but for the Ring Magazine and Lineal.
Gervonta Davis has never held the Ring Magazine title at any weight he's campaigned, rightfully so, because you have to fight specific fighters to win that belt. You have to fight the really good ones. To be lineal, you have to beat the man in order to be the man, and Gervonta never did that either.
He would have had to have fought Vasyl Lomachenko back when he was unified in 2019, or he would have had to have fought Josh Taylor at 140, and we know those fights never happened.
Teofimo Lopez fight never happened, a George Kambosos fight never happened, a Devin Haney fight never happened, and a Shakur Stevenson fight isn't going to happen. So then where does Gervonta Davis get that he surpassed Floyd Mayweather if you didn't generate as much money as he did, sell as many pay-per-views as he did, or accomplish as much as he did, and you're retiring?
You're trying to retire before he did. If he makes good on his word and retires next year at age 31, you'd be retiring about 6 years before Floyd did. Floyd retired from the sport at 38. You want to walk away from it at 31, and it's because of what I said. You ain't got the drive that he had, the talent or the work ethic.
You might have been Floyd's protege for a while, but you were never Floyd.
He's leading with emotion when he says he surpassed Floyd.
It's like a little kid pouting. You tried to duplicate Mayweather's success, you and many others, but you're not up to scratch. No matter how much you dislike Floyd Mayweather, one thing we can say is that Gervonta didn't top him.
You don't have the resume that he had.
And you're not as good as he was. But if you want to call it a career sooner than later, all I can tell you now is what I told you before. That's welcome news to my ears. As soon as this little butterball gets away from the sport of boxing, that's the sooner the sport of boxing will be better for it. Because boxing don't need fighters like him.
No, the collective gaslighting we've been seeing over the years in tandem with the media push did not allow Gervonta Davis to surpass Floyd in any department. But if that makes him feel better thinking that he did, tell yourself whatever you like. Whatever makes you feel real.
Mediocre.
Still mediocre to a lot of people, and that's why you haul and tail.
Mediocre.
What Gervonta Davis represents and how he'll be remembered is as the poster child for one of the most mediocre eras in American boxing. The mediocre American boxer.
Mediocre.